Hey YouTube, it's Faye, and for today's video I just wanted to give you an update on what I've been doing with the Supra. You can see it's behind me and I've chosen this lovely orange color for it. No, just kidding. That's high build primer. A year ago I was working really late at night trying to get the trunk all sorted for my battery relocation and everything, and I was gonna paint it. This actually ended up not going so well, and I realized I was gonna have to reach out for help. And so I came down to see my friend Rick and just ask him for some help and just like, you know what, dude, I think I need you to paint this because I can't handle this. And yeah, it ended up with him teaching me a whole bunch about bodywork, and yeah, now I'm actually making the car all one color, which I never really thought was possible. So I'm gonna take you along the journey, show you where I'm at. Also, I've done a ton of stuff to the engine, but I've just been so focused on working that I've been pretty bad about actually taking time to film it and edit it. Oh, don't worry, I will actually show you what I'm doing with that, and we'll give you a tour of all the stuff. But right now, I'm deep in the depths of wiring, and that is kind of boring. For today's video, we're gonna talk about bodywork and show you what I'm doing, so we'll hop right into that.
Look at my really nice bodywork, Rick. Isn't that great?
Yeah, I wasn't really going to worry about that too much. I was going to
No, me neither. Yeah.
But here's an example of what happens when something didn't get sanded, but it got painted over.
Yeah.
The tape just lifts it off. The paint's on there, but not really on there.
All right, so here we can see my original paint job, which I paid a lot of money for and ended up getting some bad advice. So this obviously is a burgundy color because some of you know, got in a rear end accident and I cut out the back portion from a burgundy Supra and put this on, and then did a ton of paint and body work all by myself, and then paid somebody to do the painting and final prep, which is where you would assume someone would actually, you know, do some sanding, which clearly didn't happen here. But Rick has been educating me a lot. This is Rick from the Paint Spot.
Rick.
And one thing that I thought I was doing the best I could possibly do with my budget is I bought some PPG paint. I thought
PPG, and I'm not here to throw them under the bus. I was a big PPG guy for many, many years. It's good paint. It's really good paint. The problem with this paint is this is not PPG. This is a company that PPG bought many years ago to compete with the low-level market, and it's called Omni. Not to be confused, if you're going to buy PPG brand stuff, it's going to be expensive, and it is good quality stuff. If you're going to buy the Omni stuff, it's for people that are on a budget. The only unfair thing is for somebody at a counter to kind of not give you the definites about that, to not explain that well. It's cheaper for a reason. But right there, that's not the problem of the Omni paint. Now, if you're buying substandard paint, you're just going to buy a lot more of it, and if you're paying a painter to be in the booth, you're going to pay him to be in there a lot longer. So to me, it's not worth it. The problem with it was there's no mechanical bond here. I mean, that burgundy paint that's underneath there's got almost as much shine as the new paint that's over the top of it.
Yeah.
So,
wow.
For all intents and purposes, that burgundy was the foundation of what was to come, this light blue. And that foundation sucks. You want to make sure you got a good, tight, bulletproof foundation. What you're seeing next to it here is where we had to strip it, and it was all down to bare metal and stuff. Did some body work and stuff on there. And this foundation is a Clausen's primer. It's a direct-to-metal, waterproof primer. High build, you can do body work at the same time that you're basically spraying it. And so there is no body filler per se back in here. It's all done with this primer. When we pulled the tape off, we exposed that. So what's gonna have to happen now?
It's a good thing.
Yeah, we're just gonna have to follow that to where it's been last sanded and get it to a point where it feathers and reprime it.
Look at this. This is all still. Wow. Oh my God.
Usually what I do is I'll take a blower with, you know, a lot of air pressure, and I'll start blowing on those edges. I wouldn't be a damn bit surprised if it starts flying off.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, especially with like this stuff.
There's a good example. See how my primer came off?
Yep.
So shit plus shit equals shit, right? My primer was stuck to your paint, but your paint wasn't stuck to your car.
Yeah. Oh my God. It's like a dragon.
Well, not horrible, but
That's pretty painful.
So what we'll do is we'll bust all this down to find a place where it starts to feather, and that's wherever it's tight, it'll feather out.
Okay. All right, well, fast forward a year and look how far I've gotten. Oh gosh, but you know what? It's better than nothing. Come the end of 2022, I just had it. I decided that no one was going to give me permission to work on myself or my Supra. I had to take it. Cut a lot of stuff out of my life, said no to a lot of friends, probably lost a few, sorry guys, but definitely gained some new, and here I am. So it started out a year ago as me thinking that I just needed help painting the trunk so that I could move forward with installing my battery, running the battery cables for my relocation, and finally getting my fuel tank back in there. Rick ended up pointing out the obvious to me. It doesn't really make sense to have put so much work into making the engine and the engine bay look perfect, then tracking down and restoring every little single teeny tiny piece of the interior and trim, and even painting the trunk all one color, only to put carpet over it and have no one ever see it. But then still have the outside like 4 different colors and all banged and beat up. I mean, he's not wrong. I just didn't think I could handle going through all that work again, just to end up with more heartbreak. Seriously, every single paint job I've ever done or been a part of has gone horribly, horribly wrong. I mean, this is why I was so freaked out about my ability to even paint the crappy utility trailer. I mean, crappy no more. But Rick ended up convincing me that it was possible to, once again, make my car all one color, and he would teach me how to do it, and he would not let me fail. Or in his words,
To not doing it, forgive the analogy, but it's like wiping half your ass. It doesn't make any sense.
I mean, he's not wrong. Yeah, you can see I've gotten myself into yet another bad case of the while I'm in theirs. But once again, I think I will be so happy on the other side of this one. I'm still kind of in shock, honestly. We ended up also doing even more bodywork to the car. Some of this stuff I've always wanted to tackle, but never had the means or the know-how or a mentor. So let's hit the rewind button here a little bit and let me show you what's underneath this first coat of primer. I'd sort of messed these up from rolling the fenders. Always thought I would hide it with fender flares, but now that it looks so good, I don't want to. I'm also finally filling in the original emblem hole on that front nose piece, repairing my dented fenders, fixing my cracked mirror housings, and finally installing my turbo A-duct. But there's a lot of information there and I learned a ton, so I don't want to muddy the waters, so I'm just going to focus on the body here. But don't worry, those will definitely be coming in a follow-up video as well. This was always cracked. In fact, the first time I got it painted, opened the door handle and it just cracked right through and I was like, I hadn't noticed it before. So this is all welded now. Rick welded it, so it's pretty solid. Whole bunch of pitting that was in the roof.
Okay, so here we are, we're working on the roof. Now this is the first go around on the roof, and what I mean by that is we didn't notice until late in the game that there were some flaws in the paint, and when we went to sand it, we found out that those flaws were down, 2 or 3 layers deep. And so I had to basically strip all this, which is what I've already done to the quarter panels and some of the other areas. They've already been primed once, maybe even twice, so they're probably ready for wet sanding and painting right now. Well, I gotta catch this part of the car up to that. Now when I ground this thing down, I knew that it wasn't quite perfect, maybe a little bit of hail damage, and then there's a big one right over there I can feel, and I don't know if y'all can see that or not. I'm not gonna prematurely put a bunch of body filler, especially over raw metal. I mean, if you're using the Clausen's brand, you can get away with putting it on raw metal, but I just tend not to do that. I put the Clausen's primer over here. There's a lot of it on here. I'm gonna block this out with a hard block, and that's gonna identify every little flaw in here. It's also gonna take out a good amount of them. So when I get around to dealing with this guy over here that we can really feel, I'm not gonna have as much as I would have had to fill. So I do that later. I let the material do the work, and then whatever's left, we'll get to it. And we know that it's gonna have to have one more coat of primer after that. So we'll make damn sure that whatever we finish this out with, that other coat of primer, we'll put it in the same shape that the rest of the car's in, wet sand it, paint it. tell, right?
Yeah.
The
Oh.
Cosmo stuff has got its self guide coating the first go around, so I didn't have to put it on there, but I'm putting it on the car. I put it on everything.
All right.
I'm just going to put a little bit on the car here. So the better job you do with the masking, the better the paint job's going to come out. So I'm trying to get it as close as possible. Now if you look really close here, you can see a little bit of the rubber that you technically don't want paint on.
Right.
But I would rather get paint on that than not get paint over here or have it so close to there. Or, as I found, and I won't mention any names, the tape was tucked in.
Oh, that was me.
Yeah, well, I wasn't going to mention any names.
Oh.
You threw yourself under the bus, right?
No, that's fine. I'm learning. I'm not a body shop person, so I've got nothing to prove here.
So you don't tuck the tape ever, right?
Okay, okay.
There's a whole bunch of reasons why. The primary reason is the clear or the paint will bridge, right? And then you go to take this stuff off and it rips across the panel.
Oh,
all right?
Gotcha.
So when you're taking this tape off, you actually want to pull forward and away.
Okay.
And so that's just something, it's a mental thing that you can, put in your head. So forward and away. The tape's going to come this way and away from the panel. And that creates a shear, if you guys can see that.
Yep.
Right? Now, so later on, after you get it unmasked, if you look really close, and it depends on how good you are with this stuff, you're going to see fragments of paint or clear on the molding that we don't want, right? But if you let this stuff cross-link for a couple of weeks, it'll come right off of there. You can either use your fingernail, or I like to use those little pocket screwdrivers, those little add specialty things.
Yep.
And that shit will just chip right off of there. And that goes for door handles, key locks, the whole 9 yards.
After you let it set
After
for
it
a while.
cross-links. Yeah, leave it on there as long as possible. When you're washing the car, a certain amount of it's going to come off during that process.
Really?
So as time goes by, it will come off. Yeah, that wasn't prepped. It's not made to take paint. It's only going to be superficial.
Speaking of masking, let's get to it. And I know what you're thinking, maybe. You've already seen me mask this car multiple times. But another thing that Rick taught me is that it's actually poor practice to leave the tape on a car for more than 24 hours. And especially at this stage of the game, as we prep for paint, we can't have any loose dirt or dust or any sort of material from prior sanding in the paint booth. Anything that could get knocked off and become airborne by any level of air pressure at all could end up in the paint. So we removed all that old tape and remasked the entire car before meticulously cleaning it inside and out and underneath. We're painting just the body. The top and everything is gonna come later, and that's just the way. That's just the way we're rolling here, people. The top is off, but we're gonna put it in the paint booth like this. So Rick's got some really cool, look at this. Look at this webbing. And we are getting ready, so. Get all that taped off. And now I am working on the window.